So I filmed an intro to this vlog already and then realized that I did not have the microphone in my camera. And yeah, that's on par with how my brain has been functioning lately. I wasn't going to vlog today at all because, well, honestly, as I've talked about a lot, I've just got myself in a little bit of a crunch time with deadlines, and it's really starting to weigh on me every time I look at my calendar. It makes me feel a little bit sick, to be honest, and I'm like just doing so much every day just to kind of keep my head above surface. And yeah, it's hard. And then number two, today's my birthday. And I'm fighting that feeling of like, well, you deserve to take the day off, when I literally cannot take a day off. And I know that if I decide to do so, then having to rearrange whatever I had planned to do today and squeeze it into my already terrible schedule for the next 2 weeks is just going to make me feel even worse. Anyway, yeah, it's not a good position to be in. And you know, this is just what happens sometimes. I get asked a lot about time management, and you know, I try really hard and I've learned a lot about time management over the last decade of doing this, but sometimes this is just how it happens. And I'm in one of those situations, and you know, around mid-March things are gonna get a lot better, so I just have to get through the next couple of weeks. But on the bright side, as I said, it is my birthday, and even better, I am 42 years old, and you know what that means.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42.
Yes, I officially have the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And that is a huge relief. You know, I've been waiting a long time, 42 years, to have this answer, and now I do feel a sense of peace from it. So, yeah, that's great. And there are only 2 minutes left in this sprint. We are talking on the live stream today about what to do when you don't have time to write. And I find that very funny because right now my problem is more what to do when you don't have time to breathe because you have too much to write. But this is a really, really great topic, and I have definitely come up against it many times in the past. It's something anyone who is like trying to make a living writing or just trying to write a book, period, it's such a monumental task. And you know, we all have jobs, families, lives, other things that demand our time. And so I'm interested to hear what everybody else has to say about this. And I'm just kind of really hoping that today's live stream gets me like in a decent headplace and back to feeling motivated to work, because right now motivation is not happening.
You have less time to write, which I think is going to be a fun topic because everybody feels like, I don't know if it's like the full moon or what, but
I think for me, my biggest issue was always that it was like, if I don't have hours to sit down and do this, I might as well not do this at all.
Right.
And that is just not true. You would be amazed at what you can actually do in 5 minutes, literally. If you have 5 minutes. And there's this one thing, I think, like Kara said, especially something that's like really burning a hole in your brain, it's like the thing you want to do, then just sit down for 5 minutes and write that. And even if that's all that you have time to do, it is going to spark a little bit more motivation for you and make you feel accomplished, like you did something. And then the next time you have a little 5-minute pocket or a 10-minute pocket or a half an hour pocket, you'll be able to do a little bit more.
That is such great advice. And I will say, I know an author who literally wrote like half of her books in the carpool pickup line. Like, you know, you have to like wait and sit. You're in there waiting for your kid to come out of school 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes at a time every day. That was her only free time. So I love that awesome advice. That's fantastic.
Live stream over. It was only an hour today because Lisa had a meeting to get to at noon her time. That went by incredibly fast. We actually only did one 20-minute sprint, but in that sprint I the thing I'm working on today is this particular project is an adaptation of a screenplay, kind of like an outline for a screenplay. It's almost a full screenplay, and turning that into a novel, and I'm outlining it the way an outline would work for a book, if that makes sense. So all of the like world building and character stuff is already there. It's just really like what I was focusing on during that sprint at least was I know this is going to be a multi-POV book, so I'm trying to split it up into chapters and figure out chapter 1, whose point of view is this from, chapter 2, who's this point of view from, and take the scenes and, you know, make them work in a novel form, which is honestly really fun. And because so much of the development is done, I mean, that does make it quite a bit easier. So I think this is a good project for me to continue tackling today. It's not as creatively and mentally draining as drafting, which is what I've been doing. Oh God, it feels just like nonstop over the last several days. I mean, I have written 40,000 words since last Monday, if that gives you any idea of where I am right now. And that's like the mornings. The afternoons I've been spent revising and editing another project altogether. So yeah, like I said, I'm deep in it right now. But it's all going well. I'm going to reach the end of this. I know I will. I don't know. It's pretty stressful. That's all. And this happens sometimes. I wanted to make today one of my freelancer series. I have a list of questions I've been making my way through, but I just looked at them at the end of the live stream and thought, you know, where my head is right now, I just don't think I am capable in this moment of offering genuinely good advice because I don't feel great about freelancing right now. And that's just today. That's just my mindset for today. And, you know, it happens. And so instead of like trying to fight my way through it and potentially give you some bad or even sarcastic advice, I'm going to save that. This is not going to be part of that series. This is just a general catch up and where everything kind of stands with my writing right now. So first of all, recently, last week, I did an interview on Barrett Lori's channel. I told you guys about that. And if you missed it, I'm going to link it down below so you can check it out. It was absolutely wonderful. So much fun. And honestly, especially because there was no live stream on Lisa's channel last week, I've been deep in work mode every day. And Josh is also, for having his own work stuff going on right now, things are just very busy. And so he's you know, out the door very early in the morning and gets home very late at night. And so it's just been me in the apartment talking to Rosa. and I, you know, really needed that kind of break from work and like actual human interaction. And it was so great to see all of you guys who showed up in the chat there too. Thank you so much. And thank you to Barrett for having me. It was just really fun. And we talked a lot about just kind of my career in general, things from the past, but also looking toward the future. And I know I haven't made a video checking in about, you know, my progress on my book and, you know, my whole, you know, query journey, hopefully trying to get there sometime this fall, because obviously I've just had to set it aside right now while I'm under this crunch of deadlines. But first of all, definitely still thinking about it, making notes on it when I have free time, like usually just at night before I go to bed and I'm kind of trying to unwind. The, you know, the videos I've been watching or the things I've been reading have been kind of research, like tangential research, if that's a thing, to the book. I'm watching videos and reading books and pieces that are related to topics in that book that I want to discuss, and just kind of like continuing to let things grow in my head. But somebody, I think it was CEO, several videos ago, pointed out that when I said April, I'm keeping pretty open to work on my book. April is Camp Nano. I always forget about that one, and that's awesome. I don't know if I'll be quite ready to start the real rewrite then, because I have not been able to jump into the draft I wrote for NaNoWriMo and really rearrange it and tackle it with the timeline that I created and all of the new stuff that I figured out. Like, Again, I'm still not sure, I guess, if I'm going to have to outline that book again, or if I can use the zero draft I wrote just to make some notes on what I want to change and then just like jump into writing it. I'm not sure. I haven't printed it out. I have not read the Nano draft since Nano. I haven't opened it at all. So, but I will have some time. I think starting around mid-March, things are going to free up and I'm going to be able to start looking at that book again. So April, definitely May and June, I am reserving time. I am protecting that time to really work on this book, because the reality of it is I can always just say yes to more and more ghostwriting projects and keep pushing my own books to the back burner. I could put my own stuff on the back burner permanently. It would be very easy for me to just let myself do that. And I think that's true of anyone who's writing a book, no matter what your job or personal life, the other demands in your personal life are. We can always push our books to the back burner. It's just way too easy to do that. And at some point, if we really want to make it happen, we have to shift that to the front burner and turn up the freaking fire, you know? And I'm going to do that in April and May. The way things stand for me right now is that actually just yesterday, so sorry, I told you this was gonna be all over the place. I had two projects scheduled for April and May. One of them is the adaptation of a graphic novel to a novel that I'm very excited about. But the client has pushed this back. I was originally supposed to do it in November, and then it was pushed to February, and then we pushed it to April. And they are very communicative, and it's all to do with the launch of the graphic novel and other things that they have going on. But it could very well get pushed back again. So it's on my calendar right now, but the truth is I don't know honestly if that's going to happen or not. And the other thing was a client that I've worked with multiple times in the past that I absolutely love. And we were supposed to do a chapter book project. So a pretty short project together starting in April. And the fun thing is she contacted me yesterday, and that was it. That's all I have. I have some stuff scheduled for the fall, but other than that, April, May, summer, I haven't scheduled any big ghostwriting projects yet. And so she contacted me yesterday, and she was like, so I might be, putting the chapter book aside for now. And instead, basically, she came at me with two other much bigger projects that I think we are going to do together in April through September. And it is substantial enough that I am going to consider my remainder of my spring and my summer closed, because it's a good amount of work, but it also definitely leaves me time to focus on my own work. It's perfect. I will still be taking like book coach clients and things like that, and like smaller types of projects, but as far as like big ghostwriting a full novel projects, I think my schedule is closed, and I'm very, very happy about that. And I'm especially happy that it worked out to be with this particular client, because we just get along really well. She has wonderful ideas. We've worked together several times in the past, and we have a good rapport, and yeah, I'm so pleased with that. So again, that's really driving me right now. All of the projects that I'm working on right now, I said yes to them for a reason, even though I knew I was kind of potentially going to end up in the situation I am in now. They're all so fun. I just did not want to say no. And I'm genuinely enjoying the work I'm doing. The stress I feel isn't like dread of, oh God, I don't want to look at these projects. It's not like that. It's the kind of fear of, gosh, I'm doing so much right now. What if I can't make this as good as I possibly can for the client? And I'm really, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I always put as much passion and effort into these ghostwriting projects as I do into my own books, because that's what these clients are paying me for, and they deserve to have the best possible version of a book they can. And so just to give you one example, and I was very open with this client about this, the book that I finished recently, I told you guys we had contracted a 55,000 word draft, and then we had an outline, and I got a little more than halfway through the draft and realized it's going to be quite a bit longer than that. And sure enough, it ended up being actually a little bit over 65,000 words. And that extra 10,000 words just, I mean, that's like another week's worth of work at least. And that is what kind of caused me to end up in the position that I'm in. Well, the other issue was that when I have a deadline for a client, I always set that deadline, the date I tell them, I am actually going to finish that draft at least a week, but ideally 2 weeks prior, because then I can close it for a week and then open it again and kind of had time away from it and read it through carefully and give it a good edit, just to catch all the things that first drafts are gonna have, you know, inconsistency, issues, typos, obviously, things like that. And I just didn't quite have that time anymore with this book because I wanted to get it to her by the deadline that we had agreed on. And I did still give it a careful edit, but it was, I mean, there was literally, it was like I finished the draft and then I just went back to the beginning and started reading it again the same day to edit it. I had no time away from it. Things like that, that's what gives me anxiety. Like I need that breathing space. So anyway, but anyway, I guess I'm saying that because I don't want it to sound like I'm not enjoying my work when I just really do enjoy my work. And I'm in the middle of 3 projects right now and they're all just really fun, but they're all due at the end of March and it's just a lot. Anyway, the other thing is, and you know what, if you're watching this, you're probably a writer, maybe. You write fiction, maybe, and so you will know what I mean when I say this. What do you think my brain has done to me right now in the midst of all this, where I'm like, I have my own book that I'm excited to get back to, and I'm writing like 3 to 4 other books for people as well. What do you think my brain did? Yeah, my brain gave me a new idea. And I ignored it for, this was like, you know, several weeks ago. I ignored it at first. I was like, oh, shiny new idea. I see you. I know you're trying to distract me from all the stuff I'm, you know, supposed to be doing. And I know you are probably going to flit away and I'm not going to care about you in a couple days. Because honestly, I get ideas all the time, but rarely does one like stick. Well, one day this one just so much, like specifically, I think we've talked before about how the ideas for books can come to us in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it's a character or a specific group of characters. Sometimes it's a plot, like we see just, you know, or sometimes it's just a premise and like a what if question. This one was a setting, which is a little bit unusual for me. I don't know how many book ideas I've ever gotten in the past that specifically started with the setting. And this, like, I was working on a client's book and the setting kind of like dropped into my head, and then moments later a villain dropped into my head and I was like, wait, and I opened a new document and I just kind of word vomited it out. And then that document stayed open for several days and I kept adding to it. Like I'd be working on other stuff and it would just be like, oh my gosh, this too. And you know, pretty soon I had a document that was like, you know, a couple pages long. And then it turned into a Scrivener document. And just from these little bursts of moments where these ideas are coming to me now, I have like, I wouldn't say quite an outline, but I have a cast of characters, a setting I am completely in love with, and, you know, I can see a plot beginning to form. Why? Why do our brains do this to us? I don't know. And I don't know when I'm going to, you know, really be able to sit down and begin working on this in earnest. It would be really great if I could spend some time brainstorming it further and maybe kind of playing with an outline while I work on, you know, the mystery novel as well. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And, you know, it really goes to show you that whole idea of like refilling the creative well, I love that metaphor. I always have. Sometimes your well is drained and you need to give it time. But I think maybe, and tell me if you're the same, I think sometimes we have wells for each of our books or each of our projects, or just even if you're not, like if you have a job that has nothing to do with writing, you have a well for that job. And your well might run dry at the end of a day on that job, But that doesn't mean your creative well for the book you're working on has run dry. You know what I mean? And I think for me, I have a well for each book. Some days I wake up and I know, you know what? I have worked on this client's book for 7 days in a row, and I just need to turn away from it for a minute and look at another client's book. And that's that well refilling. And I don't know. I'm, like I said, I'm rambling. I'm so tired, you guys. So I guess what I'm saying is I really hope I can work on this new idea at the same time as I'm working on this other one. One other little thing about this new idea is it's middle grade. I love middle grade. Something Barrett and I talked about in the interview was, you know, I've talked about how I'm feeling the need to like step away from Kidlit for a bit. And I still feel that way in every aspect except for the actual writing of the story. Like as far as Kidlit publishing, as far as Kidlit community, I still need a break. I need some time. But I just love writing middle grade, and I never said, and I would never say I'm done writing middle grade forever. And this idea just kind of proves it. Oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this idea. So, you know, I definitely have said that when I do start querying for a new agent with the adult novel, because that is still the project I'm prioritizing and that is still what I'm planning on querying. But I've always said I will be looking for agents that will represent both adult fiction and Kidlit fiction, because Kidlit is always hopefully going to be part of my career. And I would just really love it if when I do start querying, and you know how it goes if an agent does express interest, one of the things they will almost always ask is, what else are you working on? And I would love to be able to say, actually, I'm in the middle of a draft maybe on this middle grade thing that I would like to put on submission sometime in the foreseeable future. That would be really cool. Anyway, okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening to this probably borderline incoherent ramble, and I hope your writing is going really well this week. I hope it's, you know, your stress levels are lower than mine, but I know we're all in it together. We've all got stuff going on. So I hope you're doing well, and let me know if you do have more questions for my freelance series. I am going to get to it soon. I am keeping that list up, so just go ahead and drop them in the comments below, and have a great rest of your week/weekend, and I will see you next week, hopefully with more videos. Bye.